current offerings that we have displayed in front of us with Disney Star Wars, The Mandalorian, screw you internet haters, it is good, okay? Give me my Baby Yoda. I want more. Gobble, gobble, eat it up. Yum, yum, I love trash.
So what you're saying is...
Rick and Morty reference.
So what you're saying is we should talk Chapter 19, The Convert.
We should.
I agree, that's a good idea.
This was honestly the tale of two cities.
That's a good way to put it.
I like how they they took him and his adventures and then put the donut hole in the middle with the other guy. What was his name? Dr. Fleming?
Dr. Pershing.
Pershing?
Yeah.
All right.
Attack on Show. I love that. It's like Ant-Man, what they did with Quantumania.
Oh my God, that is hilarious. Now, the only thing...
It's not spelled right.
We are not jumping to the end of this thing. Oh. Let's start off the beginning of the Mandalorian episode.
Oh, you don't want to dive right into the end?
But it was funny because that beginning of this episode, basically, Katie Bo-Katan is not telling anybody what she saw. She kind of asked him, "Did you see anything while you were down there?" And he's like, "Oh, no, And she's like, "Oh, okay." I don't know if she believes she actually saw it, if it's real or not, and how she's kind of keeping it to herself, probably for a power play down the line or whatever. But then, they come out. We got that great, battle with the intercept fight, intercept ties coming out. I was like, this is, the longest episode of the season. I'm like, this is starting off great. This, ship battle is amazing. Can't wait for more. Oh, my God, he's jumping out of the ship. Baby Yoda, Grogu, and him are separated. And he's, taking his ancient flyer, his, Naboo starfighter. And I'm like, this is great. And then... switch. And I'm like, oh, okay.
And it felt like a hard cut, too.
It was an extreme hard cut. And then they go into this extremely long Dr. Pershing
symposium.
Cut. Yes. The same place, the same theater where we learned about the, there's some powers that the Jedis don't want to tell you about.
All right, everybody, gather around. I'd like to talk about this DNA splicing. Yes, over there. I've heard that these are secrets that only the Sith knew. That is incorrect. Contrary to what you may have heard, the Sith, if they are even real, were not cloners. In fact, regular people were, and also formerly aliens. They are all dead now.
I liked certain parts of the Pershing tale. I just wish it wasn't 40 minutes in the middle of two Mandalorian scenes. There's a few, I thought they were kind of taking a little of the Andor vibe and kind of Mandalorian in it a little bit. I kind of enjoyed that a bit. But this is really the first time, I think, in The Mandalorian, because this has mostly been from Din Djarin's perspective. We've had other scenes without him in it, but it was always kind of going towards the main plot. And this seemed so fun. This seemed very tangent time. They are stealing our thunder and tangent timing in the middle of this episode. And I kept thinking...
logo up at the top of the screen.
They did.
And I thought maybe this would have been better if they interweaved a lot of this story, in other Mandalorian parts. And the only thing I can think of is why they didn't is what happened is going to become very relevant in a future episode of The Mandalorian much sooner than later. Because otherwise, they could have sprinkled this whole thing over the rest of the season. We find out, is it Ella Kane, the comms officer from Moff Gideon. I really liked when he was like, I just didn't expect to see anyone else from Moff Gideon's ship. Like, he expected them to be so hardcore, they're not going to join this, New Republic, amnesty program, which, great. Way to show you're not the Empire by giving everybody numbers to bring them in.
Yeah, I felt that was kind of weird. But as far as the whole amnesty program thing goes, obviously, when they came to, arrest Moff Gideon and take his ship in, I feel like what probably happened was it was most likely here are your choices. Either you can go to, an Imperial, you can, not Imperial, you can go to a New Republic prison, you can hang out with, Captain Space Boston, or you can join our amnesty program.
And were you guys fooled at all by her act?
No.
Because right when she came on the screen, I was like, yeah, she's not there for anything good.
So here's the thing. Now, Keith, what was the title of this episode again?
The Convert.
The Convert, that's right. So for me, this entire episode, even the Dr. Pershing things, to me, it felt like they were implying almost a religious experience for both parties, right? So you've got on one hand the Mandalorians, you've got Bo-Katan possibly, joining a new, what is it? Huh? A new sect or whatever, right? But then you've also got the potential that either this comms director is converting to the New Republic, or she's trying to bring Dr. Pershing over to the Empire or the First Order. So either way, somebody is converting to something else. And I think it was definitely the latter, with her trying to ease him in with, well, what was your favorite thing about the Empire? And he goes, well, actually, I kind of like the biscuits. And then she went and she got them for him. And now she's, cranking up the dial on the thing to, and maybe later on she'll be like, oh, yeah, those, that New Republic, they're not very good. They mind flayed the hell out of you.
Yeah, she's definitely. Yeah, did you notice, too, the one thing that I thought was funny, when they come out and she has the mobile, lab, she takes it.
Yeah.
And I honestly think she's taken that. So when she, after the whole mind flayer, thing was done to him and he's probably going to start being built up, she is going to be right by his side, building him back up to be, part of Moff Gideon's crew. And as soon as she gets him to that spot, she's like, a secret agent. She's going to know how to build him up the right way. And pretty soon it'll be like, well, guess what? I got that mobile lab for you. And I think that's when we'll be introduced to Moff Gideon again. And I think that's why this is Attack on Show made a very good point. He said, who knew when Din said he was taking Bo-Katan somewhere they wouldn't be found, that he meant even the audience for the episode.
that is great. That is really good. I love that.
And Fatherly Fandom said there's a theory out there that everyone on Moff Gideon's bridge was killed. And so Elia Kane is a clone. I like that.
There is one thing that I will say that you have. What's that, Dave?
I don't think Pershing's coming back from that. He's not going to be rebuilt up or anything. He's either going to be severely, no mental capacity whatsoever. Or
how many other cloners do they have? He seemed like he was one of the best and brightest that they had their hands on.
Right, but she grabbed all the equipment that he needed. Maybe they do have somebody else. Maybe they're thinking, now let's say. Maybe they're going to convince her to help them.
And we may see that in the Bad Batch, too, with, Mount Tantus.
Right. If they kill her on the Bad Batch, then my theory's gone.
But at first I was thinking, oh, they're just taking care of a loose end here. Like Moff Gideon just wants to get him out of the way because he knows too much about his operation and he doesn't want any secrets coming out. But then I started thinking, with this machine, it pretty much kind of wipes you down, and so they can start building him up. He's still going to have that, the intelligence to be able to do this, and they're going to start slowly bringing it back to him and build him up so he will be, one of the, long live the Empire guys that we saw.
Like a 1984 thing.
Yes. But just the, I thought it was great that they called back to, Bo-Katan, stealing all of the Empire's ships and weapons and stuff. And, the Empire was kind of coming back for her, it seemed like. But we also, the one officer on that ship who, took the cyanide pill in his teeth rather than be captured. I think that's what they're building Dr. Pershing back into, a fanatic supporting Moff Gideon.
Well, that's one of the things that I've wondered, and I actually had to do, supplemental reading, which I shouldn't have to do for a movie to understand what the hell is going on. But when it came to The Force Awakens and trying to understand, okay, so the First Order, who are they? They're not the Empire. Where did they come from? And so I had to go back and like do reading in some of the now canon books and comics and everything. And you're exactly right. They were fanatics. They were pro-Empire fanatics that were made up. Some of the people were former Empire or children of the Empire, or people who, like when Moff Gideon, for instance, spoke about how they needed something to bring about law and order back to the galaxy. People who talk like that. So, I do appreciate that. I appreciate the look into the Star Wars universe at how people deal with politics. And it's one thing that I don't think about that often until they actually, like, show it. Like, when they show it in Andor, when they show, Mon Mothma going in front of what's left of the Senate, attempting to speak out for people that need help. In the Bad Batch, when they're trying to figure out like a program for the clones, like, just seeing where the politics lie and how people feel about it. And then when they had that one dude talk about the Empire, the New Republic, it's all the same to me. And it's like, yeah, of course there are people that think like that, because whatever has been going on in the larger scheme of things, they haven't been directly affected by it. So of course they would talk about things like that.
Yeah.
It'd be so nonchalant. And I do appreciate when Star Wars does that. So that was one of the things that I will say this episode, even though that did feel like a total tangent time, I appreciate them doing things like that.
I would bring up another Rick and Morty reference where he says, somebody's always trying to take over the galaxy. You don't need to take over the galaxy. You just need to be left alone by the people you love. And I'm sure that's what most people feel like when they Star Wars universe, the comics.
Yeah.
There's an old political quote that I remember. They said they don't care how corrupt their politicians are, as long as everyday services are going on and stuff. The only time that people really get upset is if, like, trash pickup isn't going on. And that's kind of almost how the Star Wars universe is. They, like, the guy who was saying Empire, New Republic, it doesn't matter to me. His life doesn't change at all.
Mm-hmm.
No matter who's in power, pretty much. He's not being repressed. He doesn't know what's going on in the outer rim. He doesn't care.
Right.
And I do like that, because that happens everywhere, and it's good to see them adding it into this sort of lore of the Star Wars universe. And making the New Republic so inept only makes their downfall that much more believable.
It makes so much more sense than making the decisions that they're making. It's like, it makes now more sense. It makes you understand why Leia broke off and probably didn't rejoin the Senate, the new Senate. She probably felt like, this isn't gonna fly. Like, I get also from the point of view of, like, Mon Mothma and them, they probably felt they had to do stuff like that in order to sway people. Like, hey, now you promised that you weren't going to be like the Empire, so we need you to deactivate your military. All right, no more stormtroopers, no more ships. We'll have like a police force or whatever, and they'll fly around and pull over Din Djarin whenever he's space speeding.
An Attack on Show. This is a very good point. I think the frustration with this episode is that we only get 8 episodes with no consistent runtimes. Then we have to wait so long in between seasons. People are quickly triggering on it if the story isn't all Mando. And I felt that way watching it. I was like, as I'm watching it, at first I was like, oh, cool, we're going to see some of this. And I'm like, wait, we're still on this. I'm like looking at my watch like,
yeah.
Are we getting back to Mando?
If
they would have found a better transition.
29 minutes. I don't know if you read that.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's supposed to be the shortest runtime of any Mando episode. And then we only got 4 left.
So I'll say what we said before when we were talking about the different runtimes for The Mandalorian. If they're able to tell the story, and that's the only amount of time that they need to tell the story, it seems, at least from what I can tell, I haven't read otherwise, but from what I can tell as an outsider looking in, it seems as though Disney is not as super concerned with how Lucasfilm allows themselves to run and create these different episodes. They're like, yeah, if you need an hour, you get an hour. If you need 29 minutes, take 29 minutes. You do whatever you need to do. Like, it doesn't seem like they're putting any sort of like limit on what they're allowed to do. At least not so far that I can tell. Now, if there is some sort of report otherwise that says, look, you get a total combined runtime of this and you have to figure out how to break it out throughout the season, then that would be a bit more upsetting.
And I do think the reason we
raising and lowering the runtime, I don't have a problem with that either. Just tell the story that you want to tell. But it just sucks that we're halfway through and we only get a half hour. So how much farther can they go into their story in half an hour?
Well, and that's why I think they told it all in one chunk instead of spacing it out between a few episodes, because it's going to become maybe the focus of the story for the rest of the season. And so they had to get it all out, and they just decided to do it in a big chunk. And I think as long as the story gets interwove into the rest of the season, it'll make a little more sense, and looking back on it, it'll be better. But I mean, like I said, I was like seriously looking at my watch. I'm like, I want to see what's going on with Bo. And they were doing space battles, and they were doing cool stuff.
It was pretty cool.
And it's funny, because I know Fatherly Fandom had said this on his Wednesday night stream here on Twitch, which if you're not following, Fatherly Fandom Attack on Show, please make sure you do so. And he was like, the first thing he noticed was like, as soon as she got out of the living waters, she didn't take her helmet off. And I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, she's flying around, and I'm like, man, Katie Sackhoff was taking that helmet off more than Topher Grace was unvenoming his face in Spider-Man 3. So it was very obvious to me. I'm like, she's keeping her helmet on. She's definitely kind of coming over. We had talked about it the week before, that she was trying to convince Din that all this was a bunch of hooey, and she seems to be the one being convinced of Din being in the right, and this is the way. So I thought it was very obvious. And then when she was so welcome at the end, well, you bathed in the living water, so have you taken off your helmet since then? She's like, no. Welcome, you're now a part of our clan. You are an apostate no longer.
It almost feels like they were way easier on her for some reason.
She did what they required, though. That's part of this is the way.
In Attack on Show, that was my next point. It still feels to me like she has her own agenda. She's doing this because she knows what they want to hear. Like, she didn't take her helmet off, not necessarily because she really believes it yet, but she knows it's going to get her in close to Din, who has the Darksaber, maybe even help her, down the line with the Mythosaur that we saw, at the end of episode 2. I don't fully trust her yet, and I think she is playing this role to further herself on. She's pulling a Loki. She's doing certain things. It looks like it's for the greater good, but it's for her own personal benefit. And I still think that is...
If she's doing that, she's doing a really good job of it, because I'm not convinced. I know that you are, but I think so far she's been on the up and up. That's the feeling I get. If she is doing your nefarious idea, then she's doing a fantastic job of covering it up.
See, I'm on the same page as Keith. Like, I'm waiting for that twist. I'm waiting for her to suddenly, because it's very strange of her to go from speaking so ill of the, and you are a child of the Watch. Even though she used to also be a child of the Watch. She spoke so, little of them, as did the other Mandalorians that were with her when they saved Din Djarin in Season 2. So to me personally, it feels like it's an extreme switch for her to suddenly be like, oh, yep, I'm one of those religious kooks now. Like, I'm totally into it, never gonna take my helmet off kind of thing. Like, I feel like there's got to be some other motivation behind it. She still hasn't mentioned the fact that she saw the Mythosaur yet. I don't know if she's going to reveal that, if she's waiting to reveal that. I don't know if she's going to try to take over the covert from the armor. Like, I don't know. I feel like she's got some other plan in mind. I'm not fully trusting her yet.
Maybe she's just
And,
tired of being alone.
well, and I think too. We know. Well, and like Dave's, I agree kind of with your point. Everyone else, all of her followers left. At least that's what she's saying. I don't know if I believe that either. But this is her way to get, more people and be a part of a clan and have more Mandalorians around her. Oh, am I the only one wondering why they're all different color armor? I think Mandalorians do that as their own personal thing. They don't want to all have the same color and look the same. It's their personality, and, they're allowed to have their own color. So it didn't seem odd to me. Oh, and Fatherly Fandom, we know the next week's episode is called The Foundling. Whether that's about Din or Grogu. And Dave Filoni co-wrote it. And Rosario Dawson mentioned she was excited about it. So there is that going around that a lot of people think that Ahsoka is showing up this Sunday or this Wednesday on The Mandalorian.
Maybe a soft boot for her show.
Another one? Sure.
Yeah, I mean,
Probably get excitement back up. It's been a while since she appeared in season 2. Gotta remind people, hey, you
centered on what's actually gonna happen. Like
good.
I'm gonna say I've seen Ezra or something.
I think
I walked between worlds and I saw him and I gotta go find him.
I think I read a theory somewhere that the people who were attacking Din Djarin and Bo-Katan were actually sent by Thrawn.
Well, remember, here, little nugget for all of you Rebels fans, when he was building that new TIE fighter in Rebels, one of the things he wanted was shields. And they mentioned, wow, these TIEs are a lot,
Not harder.
Yeah. A lot harder than the old ones. And he also wanted hyper space capabilities in their small ships. So it seemed like they were hinting at Thrawn by talking about the TIE fighters that were attacking them. So yeah, I 100% think we are going to get a Thrawn reference or learn that Thrawn is sort of kind of gathering his power. Now, how Ezra plays into it, I still think he's kind of turned them wherever they went with the Purgles. But, that remains to be seen. And TG, welcome. Always good to have you, sir. See, Paz Vizsla and his founding Rhaegar are the same color, so I think we have multiple clans and houses in the tribe. And that is true. But I do think, there's no... everyone has to be this color. I know that they all wore red when they were under Maul's control, and I think that was just him wanting everyone to be like him. I like the fact. Yeah. Well, that's a good question. If we see Ahsoka, are we going to see Sabine in the next episode? We know she's been cast. I can't remember the actress's name.
That'd be very cool.
And we may get, the plot for Ahsoka being started here and then leading into whether they're coming for Bo-Katan to help him out or what's going on. But
yeah, so Dave, you might be right there, man.
I may be crazy.
Yeah, and that's Fatherly Fandom makes a good point. They mentioned that it was a lot of ties for a warlord. They had TIE bombers and they had a lot going on. This is definitely more than a warlord. So I definitely think Grand Admiral Thrawn is coming sooner than later.
And I have to wonder, do you really think... What's that, Dave?
Is that going to be Christopher Lloyd? Because I haven't seen him yet.
No, he hasn't. We have not seen him yet.
Play Christopher Lloyd as Thrawn. What's going on, buddy?
Walkie dog.
All right, I'm getting real sick of these Jedi. But no, I have to wonder, do you think the fact that they blew up Bo-Katan's castle, was that really out of revenge for her stealing a couple of ships? Or was it a way to maybe put another dent in the Mandalorian power structure, or at least what maybe they thought that's what they were doing, to hopefully stop any chance of them rebuilding? They figure, hey, if we destroy the house of one of the biggest clans, including the person who last laid claim to the Mandalorian throne. Maybe the thought process from Thrawn is, we destroy this, what are they going to do now? Mandalore will be back under our control.
And I do think it is him taking control of that galaxy, not the whole galaxy, but that, that area where Mandalore is, that is going to be where he is basing his operations out of.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why he's going to be battling the Mandalorians for control of that sector while, the First Order and everything else is going on in other parts of the galaxy. And I think that's how they're going to tie it all together. We have Grand Admiral Thrawn versus the Mandalorians here, and then we have the Resistance and the First Order and other stuff going on over here. And that's how they can separate those two stories out.
And yeah, Finally Fandom, you are right. They do need them scattered because they know that if the Mandalorians start coming together and they work together, in fact, this is what Bo-Katan and Din Djarin both kind of referenced in different episodes. So Bo-Katan said so much in the season 2 episode when, she kind of said, hey, when we're together, we're stronger. And then Din Djarin said basically the same thing when he was trying to join up with her after he was trying to head to Mandalore to, go take his bath.
Hey, did you guys notice that's 2 Jon Favreau projects that destroy a castle or a house right on the cliff, above the ocean? I wonder if that's going to be a common theme in all of his projects.
Look, he hates castles. Just, I like blue milk. He hates castles.
Wasn't a castle.
It's kind of got the thing.
Might as well been.
And yes, the interceptors were very maneuverable craft, but they did make some concessions in speed maneuverability to get the shields and the hyperdrive. And, his N1, Naboo Starfighter, was tricked out by Peli. It had some, special features. Plus, those Naboo Starfighters were way advanced. So I had no problem with him being able to maneuver. It wasn't just his ship was better. It was just Din as a better pilot than who was ever in that interceptor. He was smart. He flew straight up and then, came down and bombed him. And if you noticed, a lot of the times in Star Wars, they blow something up and they just drive through the explosion. He actually came up a little bit and went around it. Like, he didn't want his, sweet ride being, damaged in any way.
He didn't want to scuff any of it.
What would... I just thought of a random theory, the way my brain works.
Do it?
What would suck, but I could see them doing this, if Bo-Katan is not going to turn out to be the villain, if Dave is right, and she really is on the up and up, and she really does care about the Mandalorians and wants to be good, what if it's the Armorer? What if she has a secret deal, unbeknownst to everybody else, with the First Order, and her reasoning will be, well, they're not the Empire. And in fact, they're more loyal to the Sith, just like our leader, Darth Maul, was.
mean.
You reeling that in, Dave?
I'm looking for my poll.
Okay.
I just
not that poll. Keith, why do you always go there? Why?
wasn't me. I don't know what you're talking about. I just the things that make me think Dave could be right. You know, she was the one when she was just with Din saying, you know, Mandalorians have been fighting Mandalorians for reasons we don't even understand anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she wants to bring it. And she may be at a place where she's like, you know, Din's a natural leader. I think we've talked about this before. You know, Din's a natural leader. He may be able to bring people together like I cannot. And she may be able to accept that. I just don't know. She is a very confident woman. And I don't know if she is able to handle that yet. Maybe as time goes on, she'll be able to handle it. But I still think she's got a plan in the back of her head to either tame the mythosaur and show that, like, I'm the true leader of Mandalore because I did this. Who cares about the Darksaber? But, you know, it's hard to tell. They've given us enough of both sides that we don't really know where she's going to go. Now, Katie Sackhoff has said she sees the light and is willing to fall into line. But I think she's lying. I don't think that's really going to happen.
Yeah, and Andrew Garfield is totally not going to be in Spider-Man No Way Home.
Did he show up? Was he in it?
Oh, that was a fun.
So, Andrew, we just saw Spider-Man No Way Home. You were granted. I'm not in it. I know what you're talking about. But you don't have to lie anymore, Andrew. It's okay. It's out. Finally, I'm still not in No Way Home.
But I did. Did anyone else, speaking of Paz Vizsla, I loved when Din and Bo-Katan showed up. And he's like, what's with the night owl? He knew that was Bo-Katan. And he was just like, yeah, what's with the night owl? I was like, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. That was very well done. But now they're all going to be together. But Paz has always been, he didn't like Din. He thought he was a coward in season 1. He battled him for the Darksaber in 2. So there's going to be headbutting within his clan. What, Dave?
That was on both of them.
Yeah, that's what I said. Season 2.5 of The Mandalorian.
So I mean, I guess look at who his dad or uncle or grandpa, I don't know, whoever Pre-Vizsla was to him. I mean, just look at that. That tells you everything you need to know about why he acts the way that he does.
Yep. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
But it will be interesting to see how the armor, if the armor does turn out. We've talked about this many times. She's got the Maul horns on her helmet. We know there were a lot of Mandalorians that were completely all in with Maul when he was there. Rook Cast, she was part of his commandos. We've talked about that. She could turn out to be the armorer. We've seen her skill set in dealing with stormtroopers. So she knew who Bo-Katan was. I don't know if Bo-Katan knows who the armorer is. But if she does, and we get it early on in the next episode saying, hey, Din, you better watch. That armorer isn't who she says she is. And that could be part of a rift where maybe Bo gets Din away and maybe uses the Darksaber to gather back her forces under Din or herself to make this run. But I do think the Mandalorians are going to have to come together to take down Thrawn and his armies.
Yeah, I'm
story of this season because I don't see exactly because I thought they were going to spend the whole season getting into Mandalorian and then doing it, but now I don't know where the season's going to end up.
Dave, we thought in our video where we were breaking down the premiere episode, we said, okay, here's what he's got to do. He's got to, fix his IG robot for some reason. He feels that he needs to do that. He's got to deal with the pirates, and he's got to go take his bath. Those are his 3 main goals. So, right away, he's already decided, you know what? I guess I really don't need the IG robot. I got a R5. And who knows if he's going to change his mind, if that's ever going to be, a thing he revisits. But at the moment, it doesn't seem like anything he cares about. Now he's already made it to Mandalore. He's already gotten his bath and he's redeemed. So that really only leaves one thing that he has left to do, and that's deal with the pirates. And we've already seen previews of the Mandalorians dropping down onto Navarro. So I have to assume that that's probably going to take place within the next couple of episodes where the Mandalorians are helping kick the pirates off of Navarro. But is that really going to be the big bad for this season? Is it really just going to be pirates?
No, I think
it'd be so underwhelming to me.
I don't think so. I think they're going to be, because we've seen a lot. It was funny because I was laughing as soon as this season started. I'm like, Mandalorian's doing Mandalorian things. We got all these side missions because I loved in the first season. He gets Grogu, and he's like, okay, I'm going to head back. And then Jawas are taking apart his ship. And so he had all these little side missions to get done. So I'm like, they're just following their formula. And then bam, they trick me and I'm not doing no side quests. I'm just going to Mandalore.
All of a sudden, he looks at his console. and he sees something flashing on the screen. He goes, "Oh, hey, little fella. Console says tangent time. If you want to be a true Mandalorian, you're going to have to learn what this means. This is the way."
This is the way.
What's up the road?
Now,
Like Grogu.
And Grogu's just like, "Wizard."
did Grogu try to say "this is the way" in this episode?
He made a noise.
It seemed like they were looking at him. Like, it lingered on them looking back. Like, did he just trying to say? So I'm
And he
wondering,
seems to know. When I was rewatching this episode, he seemed to be warning them that trouble was coming. So he is getting more attuned with the Force every day. So I'm thinking they're slowly building up that he is going to be much more powerful. And we know, Jon Favreau said he trained for 2 years. And I think that and kind of seeing this is definitely we are going to see Grogu pretty powerful. Do something really strong in the Force that will help in whether it's the mythosaur or it's going to be in a battle with Moff Gideon's forces. And I keep going back and forth on this. I think Thrawn is coming.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if this season is going to be a little more Moff Gideon and his troops, and then once Din and maybe Bo-Katan and the rest of the Mandalorians kind of fight him. I almost said beat him off, but I'm not going to say that because this is a family show. I'm going to say, yeah. once they take care of Moff Gideon and his forces, I think that's when we'll see, maybe Thrawn step up and be like, you failed me for the last time. I guess I'll do it myself, and we'll see Thrawn get the Infinity. No, wait.
I guess I'll do it myself.
And then I think that's where we'll see more Ahsoka lead into with Thrawn in future seasons, because it's been hinted so many times that we're going to get this sort of team up. And as much as I want to see Thrawn now, I think they're going to save him more for this big sort of crossover event with him being the big bad.
See what Farley Fandom said? I like that we don't know what's coming. Well, we do now, thanks to Keith. It's Moff Gideon.
No, I think most shows they got to set up a plot that's going to last the entire season, and it comes to an end. Right now, I don't think we have that. I mean, we don't have. I don't see a story that we're waiting to get resolved. It's already resolved. The ones that I thought were going to happen. So it's just weird for a show.
We could see the pirates attack Navarro, and then while they're helping Navarro, maybe Moff Gideon secures power in the Mandalorian sector even more than he already is, and then they get drawn out there. But we really don't know what's happening. They've done a good job of, sort of saying, hey, look over here, wham. We're going to talk about Dr. Pershing.
It is weird.
Minutes.
It is weird, and I don't remember Dave and I really dwelling on this too much when we were breaking down the premiere episode, but it seemed really strange that those pirates were so dead set on drinking in a school. And I didn't get it. Like, I'm sitting there watching, like, they were very insistent, and it's like, I was waiting for somebody to say, guys, you can go in there, but there is literally zero alcohol. It is not a bar anymore. You can go in there and you can sit if you really want, but nobody is there to serve you drinks. There are no drinks in there. You would be better suited. So it almost seems like they were doing it on purpose to instigate something, because it was so moronic. It was so idiotic for them to keep being that insistent on something so dumb.
Well, they are pirates.
Yes, but come on. That's pretty dumb even for them. Like, I have to think that like, if now that we're suggesting the possibility that somebody like Moff Gideon or Thrawn may be involved, this does feel like a chess move. Push your pawns forward. Let them, take the hit to make you think that you've done something. Oh, but now that we've instigated you, but you've shot them. Now the Pirate King can come in and he can distract you, and we can invade Navarro. All the while, we'll send troops over to the covert where the armor and the other Mandalorians are, and
See, I think they're going to use the pirates as a diversion to secure their base, but I think it's going to be more in the Mandalorian sector because we know it's Outer Rim, New Republic. Well, the New Republic doesn't seem to care about an army or anything else.
Still don't really.
And I think they're going to say this will get the Mandalorians off our back, and then by the time they're ready to see us, we're going to be so dug in, they're going to have a very difficult time getting us out of here.
We also know that at some point we are going to go back to Coruscant again, because in all of the trailers that we saw for The Mandalorian, we see the one X-Wing fighter, he's on a ship on Coruscant talking about, there's something going on, and we need to figure it out. There's something going on in the Outer Rim. He repeats basically what he said to Cara Dune. He knows there's something weird going on.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling we're going to yes, I think you're right. They are going to try to establish themselves. We know that that was mostly where the Empire hung out, and we know that that's where the First Order kind of came from, was that they had established their power in the Outer Rim. So it would make sense that this is one of their power plays, that this is what they're trying to do. And of course, the New Republic doesn't really have a military anymore, so they're not going to stop it.
And this would be Thrawn's MO. He knows, hey, I may not have the forces to handle this, but let's instigate some other fights going on, which is going to weaken them and only strengthen me in the end. So, I definitely think this is all a power play. We're going to see a battle between the pirates. The Mandalorians will weaken the pirates will weaken the Mandalorians, and then Thrawn's forces reign supreme.
Excellent.
Are we going to have time to talk about the Bad Batch? I don't
Well, if
think
you gentlemen don't mind going over a little bit, we might.
Yeah, we can go over a little bit tonight if it's good.
I'm going to see if you two are.
Are we done with The Mandalorian? Anything else that we should discuss for The Mandalorian?
I think we pretty much we talked about everything there was to say, right? So we talked about the weird hard cut after the awesome space battle. Talked about some theories with that. Talked about the weird Dr. Pershing thing. Kind of mentioned how they treat him like a droid, basically giving him a number, and it's not much better than what the Empire would have done. We referenced, the similarities between these scenes in Andor. Talked about the Mind Flayer. We didn't mention the obvious thing that he does the whole Easter egg with. It was a trap.
Oh God.
Which, by the way, that's going on my title card, just so you know.
Good, it should. I was like, oh come on! He didn't just say that to him on calamari. It's a trap.
Your people are delicious.
With a little garlic butter. Sweet Admiral Akbar.
I can't help it. I'm delicious.
Gonna have a little Akbar tonight.
And don't forget to hit us up at Twitter, leave a comment down below, and we will see you next time on Not Your Status Quo.